video, I'm going to be showing you how I make a spider web using the Dollar Tree bicycle wheel wreath form. I'm also going to be using some of the yarn from the Dollar Tree in the colors black and white. I'm also going to be using some of the spooky Dollar Tree floral. This is the roses with the eyeballs in the center, and it's also got some little spiders here. And then I'm also going to be using, this is a strand of the skeleton garland that you can pick up from the Dollar Tree. I threw the packaging away, but it's a garland. It's just a jute string with these little skeletons hanging on it. But I'll probably be using one of these little skeletons. I'm also going to be using some hot glue and some scissors. And then if there's anything else that I add to this, I will make sure to let you guys know. And I will also be leaving a materials list down in the description box so that you can always check there to see everything that I used. Everything is from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bicycle wheel wreath form from the Dollar Tree, and it is already a black color, so I'm not going to have to paint it. And then I'm going to be using some of this is the Premier yarn, it's the Just Yarn worsted. There's 131 yards here, and this one is in the color black. So all I'm going to be doing is wrapping the bicycle wheel in the yarn. And to do that, I'm just going to be starting with one little dollop of glue here. This is just to hold my yarn in place so it doesn't go sliding everywhere. So I'm just going to add that right there. And then all I'm doing is just wrapping the wreath form with the yarn, and I'm going to be doing this all over. So anyway, I think we all get the idea of what I'm going to be doing here. So I'm just going to go around the whole entire ring of the wreath. After I got the perimeter of the frame wrapped in my yarn, this is what it should look like. And then next I'm going to move on, and we are going to do the webbing part of the spider web. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of my yarn here, and then I'm also going to take a little dollop of hot glue, and I'm going to put this on the back of the wreath frame. So I'm just going to add a little dollop of glue. Maybe you guys can see this right here, not too much, just enough to kind of hold my yarn on there. Then I'm going to take a piece of my yarn, just kind of set it on top of that hot glue so it'll secure it. Next, I'm just going to turn the wreath frame back over. And I found that it's easier to cut a pretty good amount off of your yarn skein, because the skein is really hard to get the whole thing in between these spokes here. So just cut off enough that it's easier to handle. So now that I've done that, all I'm going to do is take my yarn, and I'm going to go feed it through here for a second so we can get started on the front side of the frame. So all we're doing is taking the yarn, and you're just going to go from one spoke over to the next spoke with your yarn. And then you're just going to take the yarn and you're going to feed it through the spoke here, and then wrap it around and come back through the other spoke on the other side. So it will look like that. So you're going to do this all the way around. You can see where I didn't get enough hot glue back here, so let me glue that down again. Just don't burn yourselves. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to grab my yarn here. Pull this back up here. So all we're going to do is basically just weave the yarn in and out through the spokes, going all the way around the wreath frame. So now that we have our first little part of the web going here, I wrapped it around, so now I'm going to go over to the next spoke, and I'm just taking my yarn, feeding it through the hole, coming around back up through the other side. So you're just basically wrapping a little bit of the yarn around a spoke, and then you're moving on to the next one. Same thing, going across, wrapping the yarn through one, and then coming back up around on the other side. Like that, and then going over to the next. Okay, so I've come to a pretty good stopping point. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the wreath over, or the spider web over, and on the back side I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of hot glue so that I can secure my little last piece of yarn. So I'm just going to kind of bring that little piece of yarn over a little bit right there and let that set up. And then I'm just going to snip off this little piece of yarn here. Okay, so that's how I finished the end of it. You can also see right here on the back where my yarn got really tangled up, so I had to cut it. I just went back through and put a little piece or a little bit of hot glue, and then added my yarn, and then went ahead and grabbed some more yarn, a new fresh string of yarn, and then added that to that hot glue right there. So that's how I did that, and I just continued to weave it in and out and just go all the way through. Now you can see that the webbing on here isn't perfect, and a spider web is not perfect. So it's not going to be, you know, all uniform and everything even, but I think it just gives it more character, and in nature, you know, a spider web is not perfect. So, okay, now I'm going to move on so that we can finish up the yarn portion of the wrapping it on the wreath. And what I'm going to do is, just like how we wrapped the outer part of the wreath ring, we are going to go through and wrap these the spokes of this right here. So all I'm going to do is take some more of my yarn, and then I am going to just hot glue, just like how we did when we started. On the back side here, I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my yarn. And we're just going to do it the same way as we did the outside. We're just going to start taking our yarn and just wrapping it around. And we're just wrapping it around the spokes. So you will wrap the yarn around the spokes until you get down to the end or the center of the wreath. So whenever you get down to this end down here, and you can cut it off and then start a new piece and continue wrapping, and do that with all of them. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue wrapping my yarn around. Hey guys, I have finished, and let me just tell you guys that this is pretty time consuming. It did take me quite a bit. It took me, I don't know, a couple of hours to get this all, the yarn all weaved on there. but this is how it turned out. And you will see if you turn this over on the back, you can see where I kind of ran out of yarn in places and I had to hot glue little pieces on to attach some new yarn, which that is perfectly fine. And then on the other side, the side that everyone is going to see, you can see a couple of spots where I did attach some new yarn, where I ran out of old yarn and had to attach some new. But that is fine because I'm going to be putting some little embellishments and things on this to hide that, to cover those up. So the next thing that I'm going to move on to do is I'm going to take one of these skeletons here that's on this skeleton garland, and I'm just going to cut off one of these skeletons. And I'm also going to be cutting off this little loop here on the top because I don't want that on there. So I'm just going to cut this off and then set those aside for another project. And then I am going to be taking my white yarn. And with this white yarn, what I'm going to do is start wrapping my skeleton in it. And this is essentially going to look like a cocoon, like, you know, when spiders catch their prey, they wrap it in their silk. So, to save it for later. So that is what I'm going to be doing with this skeleton. So to do that, all I'm going to do is just start down here at his feet. And I'm going to add just a little bit of hot glue so that I can get this started. I think I'm going to add the hot glue back here on his ankle, behind his ankle there. Put the yarn right there just to get it started. And then all I'm going to be doing is wrapping, just wrapping him all together. And I'm not sure if I'm going to wrap his head or if I'm going to leave his head sticking out. And I also may be leaving his little feet, his little toes sticking out there too, just to kind of give it more of a creepy effect. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to start wrapping my little skeleton here in the yarn. And as soon as I am done getting him all wrapped up, I will come back and show you what I'm going to be doing next. So this is what it looks like after I got it all wrapped. And I did go ahead and wrap up the head. I did leave his little skeleton toes hanging out though. But anyway, I think that looks really creepy. So I'm going to go ahead and attach it to my spider web. And so I'm going to attach it to where it kind of covers up these spots where I added the yarn to it, and there's a little bit of glue kind of sticking out. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit right there, and then I think a little bit down here, and then I'm going to attach my cocoon. So there is that. So I think that looks really cute in a creepy kind of way. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this floral that I got from the Dollar Tree. Now it has these spiders on it, and my Dollar Tree didn't have, usually they put out the little trinket toys, you know, with the rings or whatever, the spider rings, but my Dollar Tree didn't have those. So all they had was this at the moment. But I'm going to go ahead and just take off one of these spiders, and it just pops off of there. So now that I've done that, it has this little part sticking out, and I'm going to try and get that cut off because I don't need that. So cut that off, and then around some of the places where, like I said, I had some, you know, some hot glue sticking out, I'm going to add the spiders. I don't really see too many on this side. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just add me a couple of spiders in there. And I think I'd like to have that one maybe go right there. So I'm just gonna add some hot glue on him. I don't want to put too much on there. And then attach him to my wreath here. Okay, so there's that one. And then I think this comes with at least 2 on here. There may be 3. No, it looks like just 2. So I'm going to go ahead and take off this other one and do the same thing. I'm just going to hot glue him on there somewhere. Make it look like they're coming in to their prey. Oh, he's getting a little closer there. I do see kind of a boo-boo right here, but I think I'm going to put a rose there. So let me just add that right there. Okay, so there's that. I went ahead and I cut the roses with that were on the stem with the eyeballs and everything. I went ahead and just cut those off. And I also went ahead and took off the little sprigs of these little, I don't know, branches or whatever. I went ahead and cut those off also. And on the roses, what I'd done, because the leaves on them, I wanted to keep the leaves, and the leaves were too far down on the stem, so I went ahead and took apart the leaves, and I took off these little pieces that were on there that were holding the leaves on. I took those off, and then I just went ahead and added the leaves directly to the rose by removing this part of the rose. So I kind of just dismantled the rose a little bit. And here is the leaf part, and I just went ahead and stuck the leaf on there and then added the little back of the rose back onto it. So that way my leaves were closer up. So I went ahead and I took apart all of that stem of flowers. Then I think I'm going to be using these black and white sort of, I don't know, they're berries or something that are on these little stems, and I did get these from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to be using the little black and white berries on here, and I may even go in and use these black carnations that are on here. I'm trying to keep with just a black and white theme for this wreath, so I may be using some of those, and then I'm also going to go ahead and use some of these glitter branches. Now, this one is from the Halloween section, and it's just the black glittery branch. And now this one I got during the 4th of July when they were selling the 4th of July decor. So, and it's just white. So I'm going to be using some of that also. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just going through and kind of cutting my flowers off of the stems and then arranging them on my wreath how I would want them to go, how I'd want to glue them on. So I'm going to go ahead and continue cutting my flowers off, and then I will come back and we will arrange these and put these on the wreath how I want them to look. This is the end of the video. This is how this spider web, I don't know what you want to call it. It's like a Gothic sort of thing. I don't know. Like a Gothic spider web wreath. But anyway, I think this turned out really good. And it doesn't have a whole lot of stuff going on because I think that would be too overwhelming. And I really wanted to bring out the spider web details in that. So I didn't want to add too much to it. But anyway, I think this looks really creepy and it's really easy. It is time consuming though when it comes to forming the spider web. But I like the result. I like how it turned out. So I'm really happy with it. So anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't, because I would love to have you. Leave me a comment down below and let me know if you're going to be trying this. I know the bicycle wheel wreath frames are kind of hard to find, but if you have one, this is an idea for Halloween. So anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Bye.